Well, the MLB playoffs are underway, and the Texas Rangers might have more of a hand in the mix than you think. We're talking about the 2016 first-round pick of Cole Ragans and his showcase of a postseason debut, and, of course, the trade that helped the Rangers win the World Series with Aroldis Chapman. We'll get all into that and more on the DLLS Rangers Podcast. Welcome into the DLLS Rangers Podcast. Abby Jones alongside J-Dub, Jeff Wilson, and John Radigan is still out on vacation, but honestly, does he even need to come back? I killed that intro.
You did. That was the best intro of your young career.
Of my 2 days in.
That's right. So you're getting better. Yeah, we want John back.
We do.
Yeah.
We miss John. Hope he's having fun in Detroit.
Yeah. You know, it's his hometown, and going up there for a wedding and take some time with the wife and have a good time. Yeah, you know, I'm years away from being an empty nester, but I'm looking forward to it already. You're
going to talk to him about the stories and get the rundown, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think it'll be great. So we've got a lot to talk to on today's show. Incredible games yesterday. I know you said you were a little busy, but I got to watch almost all of them, and this is going to be such an exciting postseason. Of course, you wish that the Rangers were in it, but good news, there's a few former Rangers playing for October baseball.
There are a lot, actually, of former Rangers playing, and you know, the list, though, because of just the impact it had yesterday, was starts with Cole Ragans, and you know, I think I said on yesterday's show how much I liked the guy, and you know, you follow his career. From the day he was drafted to the Tommy John surgery, and then another Tommy John surgery, then his debut, and he comes back. And, you know, the big story entering last year was he picked up a ton of velocity. Like, he showed up to spring training and was throwing 97, 98, which he'd never done before. Mm-hmm. And so that helped to make the opening day roster as a reliever. And then, you know, as the Rangers got good and noticed that they had a problem in the bullpen, they tried to address it, and the Royals like Cole Ragans, and made a lot of sense. And so Cole Ragans for Aroldis Chapman. And the Rangers saw the benefit of it last year, winning the World Series. The Rangers don't win the World Series without Aroldis Chapman. And
I think we should say that louder. The Rangers don't win the World Series without Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah, you make the trade 100 times out of 100 times. Yeah. To win a World Series, if you had to give away Cole Ragans, you do it.
Yeah.
And so there should be no looking back. I know some fans are like, oh, man, they watched Cole yesterday, 6 scoreless innings against the Orioles in Game 1.
Yeah, let's take a look at those numbers.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're real
pretty good. They're better than Tarek Skubal, actually. We'll get into that, too. But, yeah, that's a heck of an outing from Cole Ragans. This was all in 80 pitches, 60 for strike. They had 3 pitching changes after Cole Ragans, but one thing that I was really impressed with was Cole Ragans faced 22 batters and retired 18. So he was incredibly disciplined throughout this entire game.
Yeah, a lot of efficiency there. And if it hadn't been for a cramp in his calf, he would have kept going. So there's more in store. You know, if the Royals can win this series, it sets up for Ragans to start the first or second game of the division series. And yeah, I mean, you know, Rangers fans should be happy, of course, for the World Series that Cole's trade helped produce. But this is a good sign. If the Rangers are developing starting pitchers,
for sure,
Cole Ragans is a leading example. Cody Bradford, another strong example. And, you know, kind of the way that their careers mesh together, you know, with COVID and Tommy John and all that stuff. 21, those two were teammates, and they became really good friends. And they're very similar pitchers. Although Cole throws a lot harder, but fastball changeup, that's their MO. And so they were able to bounce ideas off each other. They started in Hickory in 21 and moved up to Frisco, and then it's just, I guess it's the day and age and the Rangers where they are, not in the playoffs and needing starting pitching. So it's natural tendency to say, oh, we shouldn't have traded him. But there are so many positive things that came out of the trade and are still happening that reflect well on the Rangers.
All right. Well, hindsight is literally 2020.
Yep.
So did you think that the Kansas City Royals would be in the postseason? Did you think that Cole Ragans would be game one starter? I don't think that you could pencil that down this time last year even. So it is important to talk about Aroldis Chapman because, you know, the Royals at the time sent a power reliever in Aroldis Chapman for a left-handed pitcher, Cole Ragans, who was really in and out of the Rangers bullpen in that season. He was viewed as a starter, but like you mentioned, because of the need for depth in the bullpen, that's where they found themselves. So you didn't know the type of player that you had and how quickly he was going to become a starting pitcher that could pitch in the postseason and dominate his first start.
Yeah, well, and you know, there's a mental component to it too. You know, when he went to the Royals, he was no longer Cole Ragans, Rangers first round pick, future of the rotation. He was a guy we got in a trade, and we're going to give him nothing to lose. Basically, It kind of happened with Chris Davis in 2011 when the Rangers traded him at the deadline to the Orioles, and the Orioles made him their starting first baseman, and he was one of the best power hitters in the game for like the next 4 or 5 years. Cole didn't have any pressure. He could go, the term fresh start, it really applied here, I think. And so he initially reported to their AAA team, got called up, and was like the fantastic in August. I think he was the pitcher of the month. And the Royals were bad last year too, so that helped too. No pressure. You don't have to go out there and win games. You can just get comfortable and find your footing, and he did, and it held. And he was really, really good this year. You can make an argument that he was not their best starter. By WAR, he's their best starter, but Seth Lugo, more innings, fewer strikeouts, better ERA, so back and forth there. But it's just and then you look at what Chapman did for the Rangers. He came in. You thought he'd be the closer because they were having so much trouble there, but he mostly worked the 8th inning. He did have some saves. He had some blown saves. All right. We all know the Rangers bullpen last year was not good. In the postseason, very tight leash on Chapman, but he got some big outs in Game 3 of the World Series, some huge outs. He got a huge double play in the 8th inning of that game that helped the Rangers win the game. And, you can't, he pitched in Game 5. I mean, you can't say enough about what he did. And I know people, it was a nail biter. You're white knuckling it when he's in the game, but the Rangers don't win the World Series without him. That's just fact.
You can't say it any other way than
that.
Yeah.
And big guy, gosh, he was, the first time I saw him, I was blown away at his size.
This guy real.
Super intimidating. Of course, he throws 105 miles an hour and all that stuff.
But he's like a teddy bear.
Some people might disagree with that. But,
I thought he was.
Anyway, those are just the decisions that a general manager has to make, know, and they can come back and bite you, but gosh, you win a World Series, it's 100% worth it.
Yes. So that's kind of the question that we want to propose to you guys. Do you think it was worth it? Because his sample size in the regular season, he had a 2.2 record, a 3.7 ERA, 50 strikeouts, and 4 saves in 30 appearances.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, the Rangers were, one loss away from not making it to playoffs?
Exactly.
So there you go.
I mean, Cole Ragans helped the Rangers win a World Series.
No doubt about that.
So it's just, the thing that was revealed, the Pirates came to town. That's who Chapman played for this year. They came to town in August, and he told Jared Sandler that he was hurt the whole time.
Really?
During his time with the Rangers.
Okay. I was on the Mavs duty then.
A big part of it, and that's why he didn't pitch back to back. Or when he did pitch back to back, it didn't work. So the Rangers had to figure out how to use him, and so they tried to avoid him back to back. So anyway, that's kind of, I don't know if that's off point or not. That might explain why it was a white knuckler there, but
I think it's valid.
The point still remains. Trade, totally worth it.
Totally worth it.
Yeah.
Because also it was high risk, high reward. And, you have another player like that who's Aroldis Garcia. High risk, high reward. It's either a home run or a strikeout majority of the time.
Yeah.
So, that was our thought process today. But it was...
In the chat there, Ben saying if the Rangers hadn't won, then it wasn't worth it. Just going to the World Series is a big deal and makes it worth it. Of course, winning the World Series 100% makes it worth it. So I see you, Ben. But yeah, I do miss the guy. He was an all-star this year, so he was back in Arlington. Sat and visited with him a couple times. Just a nice young man. He got married early. No kids yet that I'm aware of, but he's been married since he was like 19. Just high school sweethearts. He's the kind of guy you want on your team. Good person. He fits the Rangers mold. The Chris Young mold of being a good person, being a good teammate. And like you would ask Cole Ragans a question, like I did about Bobby Witt. I was doing a Bobby Witt story for Baseball America, and Cole just talked about what a great teammate Bobby Witt is, and you ask Bobby Witt, same thing. Great teammate. But we knew that about Cole. I guess we knew it about Bobby Witt too. But the point being that when Chris Young said he wanted to build teams and draft guys who are good characters, the Rangers already had Cole Ragans when Chris Young took over, but that's the kind of guy that you want, and the Rangers are chock full of them, both at the big league level and in the minor leagues.
Yeah, and it was impressive, for Cole to just have such a dominant performance too, because that's the most pressure he's ever been in as a starting pitcher, undoubtedly.
Yeah, and the Orioles are a pretty good matchup for him. I think. I know he didn't do that well against him in the regular season, right?
He did. They did lose twice to the Orioles.
Yeah, but Gunnar Henderson, left-handed bat. Yeah. He's going to have trouble with Cole Ragans. You probably want to flip Adley Rutschman around, especially at the new Camden Yards with left field pushed back. Same thing with Santander. So, to be able to do that, it was a good matchup. And hard power stuff plays in October. You don't see a lot of soft tossers who are wildly successful this time of year. And as the postseason goes along, you'll see these teams that have the power pitchers, like the Phillies with Zach Wheeler. Cold weather, batters do not want to face that stuff. So it's an advantage to have a big, huge arm like that. And Cole Ragans has developed into that. And so if the Royals can win this series, it'll probably still be warm in Kansas City next week for the DS. But they'd play the Yankees. You never know what you're going to get in New York this time of year. So be interesting to see.
Also, the Orioles continue their losing streak now. They have 9 straight postseason losses, which dates back to 2014. It's the longest active streak in majors. A big problem for them was runners in scoring position. They went 1 for 7 in that scenario, and they were just hitting .224 with runners in scoring position over their last 23 games. So if they don't figure that out soon, they will pack their bags.
Yeah, when you have opportunities, you got to take advantage of them. You got to create them. I don't know if they're a team that nobody in baseball anymore really can go out and manufacture a run. It seems like the 85 Cardinals are a thing of bygone era. Get them on, steal a base, move them over, sacrifice fly. That stuff just doesn't seem to happen much anymore. In that ballpark again, a right-handed pitcher, Seth Lugo's right-handed. He's pitching today. Yep. That'll help the Orioles because it's kind of a short porch in right field. Gunnar Henderson and Santander and Rutschman can take their shots at it, but you can't just win with the long ball in the postseason. You really have to be opportunistic, take advantage of mistakes. Just think back to the World Series in last year. I mean, Game 5 was. The Rangers are no hit, dang near perfect game against them for 6 innings, and then a little bleeder to the left side by Corey Seager, another hit, and then a little dribbler up the middle gets through, and the Rangers are ahead. Their next run scores on an error by one of the best defensive center fielders in the game, and then they hit the home run. But it's you got to have a complete offense, and scoring when you have guys in scoring position, you got to get them home.
Well, Seth Lugo will make his first career postseason start. He made relief appearances with the Mets in the wild card series, but no pitcher in the American League has faced more batters than Lugo this season. So he's got good looks on everyone that he is going up against. Jackson Holliday was out of the lineup yesterday. Just again,
left-handed bat.
Yeah, matchup reason. So it's going to be an exciting game there. Seth Lugo and Zach Eflin for Game 2, and stats did show that the first team that takes the game one win typically win the series 80% of the time. So that's our first one. We will get into the Detroit Tigers and the Houston Astros up next.
You know, Abby, I didn't wear it today because it didn't match with the blue. But if you guys watched yesterday's show, you saw my new sweet black Roback hat with the dog silhouette. I absolutely love it. It's a fantastic lid. Roback's one of our newer sponsors, and we are thrilled to have them, especially if you're an outdoor active person who loves golf or whatever it is you like to do out there. These shirts are quite simply the best fit, the best feel. They handle the heat so well, and of course it's so hot here. Moisture wicking, so the shirt's not going to stick to you. And then with fall right around the corner, you know, they have performance hoodies. They just have, if it ever cools down, they just have everything. Best looking performance polos, collars that never lose their shape, all kinds of styles. The hoodies designed for comfort, built for activity, everyday shorts. You know, it's still short weather. I'm wearing them right now. So use the code DLLS20 on Roback.com for a generous 20% off your first order. That's spelled RHOBACK. You see it on the screen. 20% off all polos, hoodies, shorts with the code DLLS20. Check them out, and they will have whatever you need.
Perfection. Up next, we have Empire Today. They've been around longer than I've been alive, I think. But
probably.
That's because they're the best at flooring. So if you need great floors, you need to head over to Empire Today. They are the one-stop shop for flooring because that's quite literally all that they do. They have a very cool element to the shopping experience, which is like a virtual option with your phone. You can just kind of hold your phone up and pick out the floor that you think would look good and kind of see before you buy. First of its kind to do that. So they're going to offer quality service, speed, and guaranteed great prices. You can get a $300 off coupon when you use the code DLLS and a free in-home estimate today. Go to empiretoday.com/DLLS for details. Restrictions may apply, but tell them that your favorite podcast ever sent you over to them. So now we are going to get into Detroit and Houston.
Yeah. Let's talk about your Tigers.
I'm bummed that they have such an early start because kind of in the middle of our show, I want to watch.
Yeah.
The Tigers are one win away from a trip to the ALDS to face your hopeful World Series champions of the Cleveland Guardians.
That's right.
And this is the first postseason victory for the Tigers since the 2013 ALCS.
Okay.
So, Tarek Skubal. This is a bad man. Let's just get into it. Let's take a look at his numbers. It was, again, his first postseason performance. He had the one walk, unlike Cole Ragans, but 6 strikeouts. Minute Maid Park is a very hostile environment. And
it can be.
It can be. 40,000 people were there. Did you know that Tarek Skubal is the third starting pitcher to throw at least 6 scoreless in his postseason debut? And he joins former Detroit Tiger Max Scherzer.
Is that in club history or is that
Tigers?
Okay, yeah. Tigers history. Yeah, sure.
2011 ALDS.
Everybody forgets about Scherzer in 2011. He was the starter in Game 6 of the ALCS against the Rangers, and the Rangers got him out early. They had a 9-run third inning. It wasn't all on Max. Schlereth gave up a bunch of runs in that inning, as I recall. But anyway, the Rangers were well on their way to their second straight World Series. But pretty good company. You can say you're with Max Scherzer in something. That's pretty good company.
In your debut as well.
Yeah. And, for a young guy making his debut, the Tigers did something great. They gave him some early run support. The 3 runs that they scored in the second held up. Or they scored 2 in the second, sorry. He made them hold up. That just pitching with a lead, you have a little margin for error. It kind of loosens up your whatever's tight and then lets you go out there and do what you've done so well. And I'm glad he's having success. Kind of like for Ragans, these young guys get put in the spotlight for the first time, really, and they're out there just dealing and doing what they did all season. So good for them. And then you look at the Astros and they've lost 6 straight home games in the postseason. 4 of them were last year to the Rangers. Framber Valdez has not been very good in the postseason. He had such a great second half that we kind of talked about yesterday. To get himself in the Cy Young conversation. I mean, Skubal is going to win it, but people look down ballot. Believe me, as a voter, many times for MVP and Cy Young and the manager and rookie, they look down ballot and they'll let you know if they don't like it.
Yeah.
So anyway, but everybody just remembers who won, and Scooble's going to win. But that was a game the Tigers had to win.
They had to win.
They had to win that game.
If they don't win without Scooble, I think the morale is incredibly low. Scooble does dominate lefties. We're going to talk a little bit about that because that's one thing that my dad highlighted on the matchup. And he gets ahead of the count 58% of the time when facing a left-handed batter. I mean, that's not very common for major league pitchers. He has a really effective fastball with 242. If he's behind in the count, which is rare, but he's going to throw a sinker 63% of the time, which he lands in the strike zone 65% of the time. So I'm going to go ahead and chalk that up as an automatic strikeout. And then with a righty, he's got a really sick slider with a 200 batting average against that. All in all, everyone's hitting 185 to 204 going up against Scooble.
Okay.
I mean, he's
that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he won the pitching triple crown.
Right.
You don't do that with guys hitting 300 against you. So, and there's been talk that maybe the Tigers would consider trading him to mortgage, get some more pieces, but they held firm. Their general manager is Jeff Greenberg, who, for people who know the Greenberg name, he's son of Chuck Greenberg, who owns the AA Frisco Rough Riders, but also helped orchestrate the purchase of the Rangers in 2010 out of bankruptcy court. He was kind of the front guy for the group that included Nolan Ryan and Ray Davis and Bob Simpson. And Chuck's a great guy. His son, good kid too, obviously. Kid, he's like an adult with kids, but good for him. He came from the Chicago Blackhawks, so baseball's a little bit different, but he'd worked for the Cubs before that. So there's always a tie. There's always like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever it is. There's 6 degrees of somebody of the Texas Rangers. You're just going to find somebody who's related to the Rangers in this whole thing.
No, baseball is such a small world.
Yeah, and it's fun to see. Andy Ibanez is on the Tigers roster, and Andy, it never really panned out for him with the Rangers. He had some opportunities. Great guy. Couldn't nice guy from Cuba. Glad to see him in the postseason. But yeah, I thought the Astros would win this series just because they're such a playoff stalwart here the last 7 or 8 years, and they still might win the series. I mean, the Tigers still have a lot of work to do. No
doubt, because I do want to explain the situation that happened yesterday in the game, because it was just it's the Tigers in a nutshell this season. Because A.J. Hinch said, we're going to play Scooble, and then the rest is going to be pitching chaos, which is what it was. They used 4 guys from the bullpen. Will Vest did a great job to keep it scoreless. Gets into the bottom of the 8th, and then A.J. went situational. And he went to Tyler Holton. He came in just to get Kyle Tucker out, which he successfully did. But then things got crazy in the 9th because Jason Foley replaced Tyler Holton. Alvarez doubles, Bregman singles, Diaz singles. So Houston scores 3-1, and that's no outs.
Yeah.
So you've just got to hold your breath, and hope that you can get it out, because previous to this game, the Astros had won 10 straight playoff openers.
Oh, wow.
And it's in Minute Maid Park. Like we said, it's just a very hostile environment. Sapina hits a sacrifice bunt. Jake Rogers gets a huge out to Spencer Torkelson, the first baseman. Pitching change. And then Chas McCormick walks, and it's a bases-loaded situation.
2 outs.
Yeah.
Tie and run at second.
Bo Brisky, not a guy that's been in this situation a lot, but he did deliver at home. Gets out of the nail-biter with bases loaded. Jason Hayward lines out to the first baseman, Spencer Torkelson. And A.J. Hinch, surprisingly enough, hands the Astros their first loss of the playoff opener in the past 10 times.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's a one for the storybooks.
It is. But don't, if you're the Tigers, now you're kind of going with your opener. Horton is starting today's game. The game has started, right? So he was in there, maybe still be in there. Your dad, when he was on the show, I asked about Horton and kind of the Swiss Army knife of the Tigers, and He's been an opener like this. He's has saves. The pitched several innings set up in relief. When the Tigers and the Rangers played early in the season in Detroit, the Rangers ended up winning, I think, 3 of 4. But the broadcast team was just gushing about how good the Tigers bullpen was. So that's good. You just kind of hope that now, if you're a Tigers fan and you're going to be using your bullpen like this, that they don't wear out. And that's tricky this time of year because they have a bunch of innings already, and now you're playing up to 3 games in a row without a day off. So you really have to. AJ Hinch is really going to have to manage the bullpen, and he's very good at doing it. Like with Horton, just you're able to avoid the 3-batter minimum there because he got the 1 out he came in for. You can take him out, start a new inning with somebody else. So it's little things like that that AJ's probably really good at, has a lot of experience with, and so. But again, it's like the first 2 games of a best of 7 or best of 5, you're okay.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna get a travel day and a day off. But then if you have to play 3 games in a row without any travel day or a day off, that's when that third day can get a little dicey, especially if you've used your best arms the first 2 days.
Right. Well, it's a tall task because the Astros have Hunter Brown on the mound, and he's 11-9 and 3-4. The Astros are looking to avoid losing 6 straight games at home. That's going to be they are 1 loss away from ending their 7th straight run to the ALCS.
Yeah, and they're in a tough spot. They really are. And Hunter Brown, he's a good young pitcher. He had a pretty he didn't I don't think he had a great start to the season, so he pitched well coming down the stretch, but it's a big spot for him too, and he has power stuff. If he's commanding it, if he's in control. Bill just asked, all 3 games are scheduled day games. Is that normal? It's not unusual. I guess it depends on the TV matchups. The TV has the choices, and I don't know that Detroit's going to bring in a huge audience, though. It surprises Houston would seem to be attractive. It's in such a big market, but maybe their ratings are down. I'm not sure, but I think the Rangers were the 2-day games last year in Tampa. They were their early games because Tampa and the Rangers aren't great draws. So anyway,
number 1 views.
Yeah. Anyway, so I just I wonder about the Astros if Alvarez isn't 100%. And maybe it's starting to catch up to them. All these extra games that they've played the last 7 or 8 years, catching up to Bregman and Altuve. Maybe other teams aren't as intimidated by them. I don't know, but their inability to win at home is huge. That cost them the trip to the World Series last year. They lost all 4 games at home to the Rangers. So something's got to change there. But you never know what happens. 2 more games to go.
2 more games to go, and we will keep our eyes on it. Detroit and Houston is about to get underway in Houston with a lot on the line for the Houston Astros, and us Ranger fans don't mind sitting back and watching this one.
Yeah, kind of, the Astros went to the first Texas team to go to the World Series. They didn't win it in 2005, and then they were the first Texas team to win a World Series in 2017. It was tainted, of course, by the cheating scandal. But the Astros were awful from let's say 2000. I'm trying to do the math in my head. Like 2011 to 14, they were terrible, and then they ended up getting all these draft picks, Carlos Correa, guys like that, Bregman becoming a good club, overtaking the Rangers, winning another World Series. And so, it kind of created a rivalry. And really, outside of 2020, which the season doesn't count anyway, the Astros have owned the Rangers, So for the Rangers to win the ALCS last year, I'm sure it was at Minute Maid. Yeah, I'm sure it sits well with Rangers fans, of course, and really aided Astros fans. But anyway, we'll see what happens next year. But between those 2 teams, but Astros still alive, and again, based on the last 8 years, I wouldn't count them out.
Can't count them out, no doubt about that. We are going to get into some 2025 starting pitching for the Texas Rangers, and then we're going to talk about Jordan Montgomery and the Diamondbacks and what is happening in Arizona. So Rangers fans, these next two segments are for you. Baseball fans in general, too.
Yeah.
But stick around.
All right. We just talked about it, how hot it is still. That means the sun's out.
It does.
It's October the 2nd, and it's supposed to be 90 degrees today. So you still need your Shady Rays. All right. Shady Rays sunglasses are fantastic. They're durable. They're built to last. And they have you covered with these premium polarized shades, and they won't break the bank. That's the good thing. And they do prescription glasses. So if you're like me and you don't do contacts, Shady Rays has you covered. Hundreds of options to choose from. You're bound to find the perfect pair. They even have styles in your favorite team's colors. I'm looking forward to my first pair of Shady Rays. And if you don't like your shades right now, get a new pair. And it's a worry-free within 30 days return if you don't like them, but you're going to love them. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. That's a lot of people.
It's a very generous discount code as well. Next up, Game Time. Game Time is your one-stop shop for game tickets, concerts, events, all of the above. It is 100% my go-to. I live near downtown, so if there's ever something happening at the AAC and I happen to get an off night, which is rare, I will treat myself and take myself to a concert. You can get great deals. They also have a money-back guarantee. If anything were to happen to the concert that you're wanting to go to, you can get a panoramic view of your seat, and you can check out where you're going to be before you even go, so you can make sure, hey, it's worth this $80 that I'm spending. So go to Game Time today. They also are going to just make ticket finding so easy. You really can just take the guesswork out and go and enjoy. And you can also do it last minute, which we love. Go to Game Time and spell out DLLS. You have to spell it out for your code. Terms and conditions may apply. But what time is it?
Game time.
Game time? Game time. So Rangers have a lot of questions on their starting rotation.
Yeah.
And in the bullpen. And Jeff and I have already been back to the baseball field.
Yeah.
Even though it's the off season. We had the season-ending meeting, press conference with Chris Young, Bruce Bochy. Chris Young stated bullpen was an area that they wanted to address. We'll get into that. Let's start with Nathan Eovaldi. Priority number one.
Priority number one, no doubt about it. I wrote about this at DLLS.com. It's a diehard story, so you got to be a member to read it. But
it's worth it.
The Rangers, as Chris Young pointed out, have starting pitchers coming back next year. They expect Eovaldi to become a free agent. Heaney's a free agent. Scherzer's a free agent. All right, Urania, free agent. Anyway, they still have DeGrom, Tyler Mahle, John Gray, Rocker, Leiter, Bradford. All right. The problem is that those guys haven't pitched more than like 100 innings either ever or for a long, long, long time.
Yeah.
So the Rangers aren't just going to let these guys, turn them loose. They're going to have to monitor their innings and keep them down to avoid injury and all that stuff. So you need starting pitching, and it would be very handy to have Nathan Eovaldi because he made 29 starts this year. Yeah, that's going on the IL for a little bit there. 170 and 2/3 innings. Our guy Andrew Heaney, 31 starts, 160 innings. That's really hard to replace. And a team you have to have, and we just talked about the Tigers and their mix and mash of pitching. You need to have a couple guys that you can count on to post up every fifth day and eat some innings. And you don't just want an innings eater, a guy who's going to go out there and have a 5 ERA. You need quality innings. And so Nathan Eovaldi is at the top of the list. The Rangers are going to have a lot of money coming off the books, including his salary. There's going to be money there. I know the TV deal, I wrote about that too, is kind of hanging over the team. Whether Ray Davis will supplement what TV money they don't get and keep the payroll competitive and like a major market team. Eovaldi's going to get some money, no doubt about it. I don't think it's going to be too much for the Rangers to not at least make it to the point where if he has a higher offer somewhere else, is the money close enough to make up for like the convenience of his family being in Houston, be able to come up real quick and see him in the summertime, or him being able to go down there on an off day, things like that. These guys are, dads and husbands also, and want to see their families, and it might be a little bit harder if, let's say, the Yankees offer him that kind of money, and of course he played in New York earlier in his career, but Boston too. My point being, the Rangers, I think, have a geographical advantage here, and maybe if the money doesn't match up, that'll give them still the opportunity to re-sign him. But he wants to be back. The Rangers want him back. They need him back. They also mentioned, Chris Young mentioned re-signing Andrew Heaney, and if Heaney can come out and do what he did this year, this is the first time he's done it. That's the thing. There's more of a track record with Eovaldi, but I would say if Eovaldi goes elsewhere, then they would turn their attention to Heaney, and there are other free agents out there. Corbin Burns is a free agent, but I don't know that the Rangers are going to be able to play for that that level of player.
I agree,
but still, you never know. And then trades, lots of ways to get pitching. But the point is, the Rangers they have a shortfall of innings with what they have coming back guaranteed next year, and they need to supplement that. And the best way to do it is plug in one guy at the top of your rotation and just let him go.
So Nathan Eovaldi is priority number 1, 12-8 with a 3.8 ERA. We know how good Nathan Eovaldi is. That's not up to question. It is interesting. Andrew Heaney made more starts than Evo.
But Eovaldi went on the injured list too. Yeah.
Right. But I was just saying he had less starts. Yeah. So Nathan Eovaldi, I guess my question is, what would be his factor? Because to me, the Rangers are the right choice. Andrew Heaney, sorry, Nathan, I don't know why I keep saying Andrew. Evo has made $79 million.
Uh-huh.
He's played for 13 years.
Yeah.
He's played with the Yankees. He's played with the Red Sox. He's played with the Dodgers. He's won 2 World Series.
Yeah.
Like, what other team would be enticing enough to trade off the convenience of being so close to your hometown and everything that Texas can offer?
He's set up, his family set up for a long time, generational money, but he wants to win. That's the thing that drives a lot of these guys. Obviously the money is very, very nice, but he told me it's about winning. Are the Rangers going to give him the best chance to win a World Series? He's not 25 anymore. He's on the sun is setting on his career. It's not it's not dusk yet, but it's getting there. He's a little older, so maybe that affects how long of a deal he gets, which also helps play to the Rangers' advantage. But he wants to win, and I think he saw DeGrom come back. He saw the promise that Rocker and Leiter have. I think he knows that offensively it was an enigma, or he might believe that. I mean, he just won a World Series with them, so they're not that far off. So I think a team that is a serious contender is going to be in the mix there. But if he thinks the Rangers are going to win this year, or in 2025,
then he's locked.
Then he's gonna lean heavily toward them. Winning,
I think,
convenience, geography.
I think there's not a chance if he doesn't sign, though. Like, he's a pivotal role, a pivotal piece to the success.
If he doesn't sign, they're going to have to cast a wider net. They're going to have to look for.
But I'm saying, like, it's interesting to factor in when you're such a large part of the success that you're trying to decide.
Well, and he's like a
but
hero.
I get what you're saying.
He's a hero here too. And maybe he likes that idea, the legacy idea. There are just a lot of reasons to like why he would resign, but Blake Snell can be a free agent. I don't know if the Rangers would go there, but he had a great second half through a no-hitter after being in the same spot as Jordan Montgomery. We'll get more into that later. Corbin Burns, 30 years old. Corbin Burns is going to get a huge deal. There's just no way around that. So, the top of the pitching market is pretty good. Max Fried, the Braves left-hander who's pitching today's game. So there's names, there's guys that have been there and done it. It just, if you know what you have in Eovaldi, so you like it. You love what he does when he's not on the mound.
I think we should do
done.
an emergency pod if he resigns.
Okay. That sounds good to me.
I don't know if I could do an emergency pod if he doesn't, because my emotions will overtake me.
He signed last year not last year. In 2022, he signed on December 28th. I know that because I'd just gotten to the Fiesta Bowl to cover the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah.
And I had to sit down and immediately jump on a conference call and write a Rangers story. And then they introduced him after the New Year's holiday. So, last year's free agent market, everybody signed late. They're waiting on Ohtani and Yamamoto.
Yeah.
We're going to get into that again with Jordan Montgomery here in a minute. It seems like he wants to get this out of the way, and Chris Young, they signed DeGrom in 22 before the winter meetings. Go get it done. The Rangers have a month here. They can still talk to their own free agents and get a feel for what's going on and get an idea of what Nathan is seeking, and then let him go out and see if it's there in the market, and then negotiate. Just get it done. This is something that needs to be done.
Well, I love what CY said yesterday, because he was like, I don't think that there's anybody else that we could get that's better than who we currently have.
Yeah.
And to an extent, you agree. I think there's some things they need to address, but I love Ben's comment here. My dream rotation. No order: DeGrom, Rocker, Leiter, Bradford, Evo/Heaney. I don't know if Rocker,
I could see that. I could see that in 26.
Yeah, I was about to say. I think
and really, it's. I don't know. I could see it in certain scenarios. This year, you'd have to trade Malley. You'd have to trade Gray. I don't know that the Rangers are really in a position to do either, but. That's a good possibility for 26. That right there, DeGrom.
I wouldn't.
Evaldi, Rocker, Leiter, Bradford. If you have Leiter, Bradford at the back of your rotation, that's pretty salty.
Yeah, I would. Evo, Heaney, DeGrom, Schwinn, Rocker more so than Leiter.
Yeah.
I think Leiter needs to come into spring training. With a few things under his belt. I think
he'll make the team, but as a reliever.
Yeah.
And they'll piggyback him with the guys who innings they want to watch early. So and Natalie, we see your question about the outfield and Leote, and that one's way up in the air. Evan Carter's a big question, right? They talked yesterday about Wyatt Langford playing more center field. How much are you going to DH Adolis next year to keep him healthy? But the problem with Carter and Leote is they don't hit left-handed pitchers. So you got to get a right-handed hitting.
Which is a huge hole.
Yeah, you got to get a right-handed hitting outfielder. That's why the Rangers went and got Robbie Grossman. Maybe you can do a little bit better than Robbie, who's in the playoffs again.
10-year vet.
But that needs to be addressed. And ideally, I guess, this is what Leote debuted in 20, so 20, 21, 22, 23, 5 years. Not 5 full seasons, but he should know now. Maybe this is who he is. A really good defensive
the grace
player.
Period is kind of over.
Yeah, a fast guy. He shouldn't be inconsistent. I wonder if he gives up trying to bat right-handed. I mean, that's something that was discussed. Early this season. But I don't know. But he can be a winning piece though. He hit a big home run in the off of Verlander in what was that, game 1 of the ALCS last year. Had a really good May last year. Was looking like he was going to be a steady contributor this year, and I thought he finished the season pretty well. So anyway, we'll see about that outfield, but it's definitely up in the air.
If he had a year like 2020, like if he was that kind of guy, does that change your statement?
Yeah,
because 2023, I mean, those are his best numbers. 266
right.
batting, 14 home runs. I mean, 14 home runs from your 9th hole hitters, not bad.
Yeah, I mean, he got on base a lot. That was the thing. The bottom of the order this year didn't get on base very much. So that's a big difference. Why the Rangers scored nearly 200 runs less than they did last year is because down at 7, 8, 9, Heim and Leote and whoever else was down there were not getting on base like they were.
Yeah.
The previous year. So
and then bullpen too, just real quick.
Oh yeah,
Kirby and Robertson.
I mean, if they want to pitch again, you got to re-sign him. Obviously, Kirby is young enough. I think Robertson is maybe
on
has
his way
retirement
out.
on his mind a little bit more. But after this year, 99 strikeouts, again, for him, it would be winning. He's his own agent, which is interesting. So you don't have to
Alabama boy got to do some negotiations.
have a Scott Boras situation. Kirby Yates can probably get a 2-year deal. He only made $4.5 million this year.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's going to double his salary. But if you can get him for 9 or 10, and you're going to get that Kirby Yates, yeah, you do it.
Yeah, Kirby, a 1.17 ERA.
Crazy.
Definitely lowest in his career. His second lowest was 1.19, and that was in 2019.
Yeah, well, he was the best closer in baseball that year.
Well, he's pretty darn close.
I'll say this to Ben about his dream rotation. I think you would like to have Roki Sasaki in there. Just saying, and he's a wild card too. If he gets posted this year, that changes a lot of stuff.
Agreed.
All right.
Well, we've got a little bit of, I don't even know, just Jordan Montgomery.
Oh my gosh,
the Diamondbacks. It's a big situation, so we will be talking about that up next.
How's your dad liking his diehard membership?
He loves it.
Yeah?
He loves it. He's not too big of like an article reader, but he loves it. He loves being a part of something.
Yeah. What if you guys aren't familiar with being a diehard or our merchandise, it's time to get familiar with it. I'll do the merch here. If you go to store.allcity.com, you can go check out all kinds of stuff that we have: Ranger shirts, Cowboys, Mavs, Stars, TCU, SMU, Wings, University of Texas. We're going to branch out into sweatshirts, which there are a few on there. Hats are coming, which obviously Abby and I are hat people, number one. So go to store.allcitynetwork.com and get your gear and show it off.
Get your gear. While you're at it, become a diehard because you get a free shirt when you do so. But no, on a very serious note, diehard is like the next level of becoming a super fan, because we're the only, media outlet that provides opportunities to go to events and hangouts and spend time with us. And we want to make this a big community, a big family, if you will. So join today, become a diehard. It's $79.99 a year. If you do the math and take the shirt off, it's not bad. It's like, 2 Whataburgers at Globe Life Field.
Holy crap. That's the truth.
Yeah, for the year. So you get exclusive content. You get 20% off all merchandise, 20% off all events. You get the Discord lounge, which is where you guys can chat. So many things. So just become our best friend.
That's right.
A measly $79.99 a year.
That's right.
That we ask. Okay, time to get into something so astounding and unique. Less than 24 hours after the Diamondbacks were eliminated from the postseason contention, their owner Ken Kendrick sounded off and said, signing Jordan Montgomery is our biggest mistake of the season. Less than 24 hours, and the big boss had some words to say.
Yeah, it was a go for it move, definitely, and it surprised a lot of people that they stepped in like they did. And it's a complicated deal. It had a lot of escalators within it. Jordan didn't get to the top escalator; would have made it worth his contract worth $25 million, 22.5 though for next year. Now he can opt out, and maybe he can get more total money. He's not going to get $22 million a year, and he didn't have like a great season, so I don't know that that big offer was there. Ken Kendrick may be eating some more money, but it's unusual for an owner to come out and say it. And I think it was his way of trying to take some heat off of the coaching staff and the general manager, because he's the one who pushed the move and really wanted to get it done, thought it would get him over the top. And honestly, if Jordan Montgomery had signed in the offseason like everybody else, or he thought he would, and had a full spring training, he would have been fine. But he was one of the Boras four, one of the guys who last 4 big free agents who was on the market forever and ever. And whatever happened between Scott and Jordan will, I guess, remain between them. But it was pretty clear that Jordan wasn't happy because he fired Scott Boras very quickly after the deal was signed. And it came up a couple times during the season. But Jordan got moved to the bullpen ultimately, and it was not his
Not his best year.
Yeah, not his dream scenario when first time free agent and this is what you get. So I think he's still a good pitcher. He's still he played in college, so he's a little bit on the older side, but the Rangers, I don't know what happened with that. I think Scott Boras was obviously trying to get Jordan Montgomery. Yeah, the deal was Aaron Nola. That was the comp that Scott Boras was using, and Aaron Nola signed early in the offseason, re-signed with the Phillies for $175 million. Well, Scott Boras said, well, Jordan Montgomery has a better career ERA than Aaron Nola, so Jordan Montgomery needs $175 million. And there were no takers, and it was a weird market, like I mentioned, with Ohtani, that sweepstakes, kind of slowing things down, and then Yamamoto coming over from Japan, and that slowing things down. And so I'm not sure what happened if teams didn't want to pay the market rate, which was exceedingly high, or if they just don't think that Jordan Montgomery is worth that kind of money. And he's definitely not worth Ohtani and Yamamoto money, although the jury is still out on Yamamoto. But it comes down to value and what do you think you're getting per year and all that stuff. Anyway, but for an owner to come out and say that, it's shocking in this day and age. You never hear from owners. We rarely hear from owners. It takes a special situation to hear from him, and here he pops on the radio and says it.
And just with everything that happened in Oakland recently and how you didn't get a peep out of Mr. Fisher, and then on this side of things, I mean, it's the tale of two ends.
Yeah,
kind of weird.
Our the Rangers owners, when I took over the beat, Tom Hicks was the guy, the owner, and he gave me his phone number, call me anytime, all this stuff, and maybe Jerry Jones and Mark Cuban having an impact on that because they're accessible as owners, but once it became Ray Davis and Bob Simpson and Neil Liebman, radio silence from ownership, and it's a shame because you ended up seeing John Daniels take a lot of bullets for ownership's decisions to not expand the payroll or go cheap, and even Chris Young and John Daniels have a boss. I mean, they were the head of the JD was the head of baseball ops. Chris Young is now, but they have somebody they have to answer to, and it's Ray Davis, and it's a shame that Ray Davis isn't accountable enough to take a bullet for these guys.
Yeah.
If the payroll comes in low, why does Chris Young have to explain that? Why doesn't the guy who sets the budget do that? So valid. That's but that's just kind of the nature of the business now. A lot of owners just don't talk, and okay, that's fine. Like John Daniels, here's an example. John Daniels got an extension. His last extension, multi-year deal, and everything's going good. He had to announce his own extension and host his own conference call without any comment from Ray Davis. So it was just kind of that's a little over the top. And Ray doesn't like talking to the media. I asked him a question yesterday. He gave me a one-word answer, and we're fairly friendly. It's not
his cup of tea.
Yeah, it's not, and it's a shame because he has things to say. He's the guy who's in charge of everything, but it just isn't going to happen. So, I guess the opposite of that is your owner says something like this King Kendrick said about Jordan Montgomery, and you have to write 2 or 3 stories about it. So you can't have your cake and eat it too, I guess. But I wish that Rangers ownership spoke to the media more.
But general manager Mike Hazen said similar sentiment, not as brutal, but similar. It was a collaborative process that didn't get the desired results. We talked about hindsight with Cole Ragans. Well, how about hindsight with Jordan Montgomery? Because I remember Rangers fans being livid that they did not re-sign him, and you just want to say thank God. He had the worst or the highest ERA of his entire career, 6.23.
Yeah, that's a big number.
6.23.
Yeah.
117 innings pitched, 81 earned runs, 14 home runs. And that's when he even got pulled from starts,
Yeah.
So
well, and all right. So
compare that to his last year, which was a 2.7 ERA.
But he had a full spring to get ready. He didn't have to worry about in the offseason where he was going. He knew he was going to be with, at the time, the Cardinals. So he was able to prepare and get ready and throw his bullpens and face hitters in spring training and get feedback. And so this year I think he signed after spring training, if I'm not mistaken. And then it's a rush job. It's like, okay, he's been throwing, let's say he's been throwing 80 pitch bullpen sessions to college hitters. Okay, great. There's nothing that replicates a major league game. So then he goes to the minor leagues. I think he made only 2 rehab starts, and then voila, he's in the rotation. That's not enough. Blake Snell had a similar experience because he was also one of the Boris 4 who didn't sign until late, and he signed a crazy deal with the Giants, and he can take free agency because he rebounded and had a good second half, but he was terrible to start. He got hurt, and then he came back and was really, really good. Jordan just didn't ever get it figured out. And for Snell, he's always been a little wild, but he has power stuff, so he can get away with more. Jordan is a command pitcher and needs to have his best command. And if you can't get that worked out in 2 weeks, you can't get it worked out in 2 weeks. So he was kind of put in a tough spot. Whether it was his doing, whether it was the agent's doing, it's pretty clear that he thinks it was Scott Boris's fault. You've seen stories come out here.
He said he butchered it
periodically, like supposedly the Red Sox made Jordan Montgomery a 4-year offer or something like that. That there were other offers out there from the Yankees and things of that ilk. Did Boris turn them down? Did he never inform Montgomery of them? Or are these reports like they were just not solid offers, but kind of a start of a talking point? I'm not sure, but whatever happened to Jordan Montgomery, he's going to be better next year. Whether it's with Arizona, whether he takes the opt out and finds a 3-year, $36 million, $40 million somewhere else, more money, fewer lower average salary. I don't know, but maybe Ken Kendrick is like, said it because he's trying to get Jordan Montgomery to opt out. Hey, you're not wanted here. We think you suck. Go somewhere else.
We don't want you back. We just can't really say that. No, it's insane. And I'm happy it's not the Rangers' problem right now. Another thing to consider for today is, will this be Alex Bregman's final game in the Astros uniform? And also Justin Verlander, will they even get to see him pitch again?
Yeah, I think you saw it with Max Scherzer, the same thing that is played out with Justin Verlander this year. A lot of injuries. These guys aren't young anymore. They were teammates in Detroit. They have a lot of miles, 6 Cy Youngs between them, 3 apiece, right? And they're right neck and neck in the career strikeout list, both over 3,000. Greats of their game and greats of their era, but Father Time is undefeated. It catches up with everybody. And
Verlander's a year older.
You might be seeing that right now, and go enjoy. If they want to keep pitching, great. I think they have to lower their expectations of what they're going to get.
Right.
I'm sure they have high expectations. We know Max is confident that next year he's going to go out and kick ass and be one of the best pitchers in the game. And he was pretty good.
How many starts do you think Max Scherzer can make next year?
I don't know. He made 9 this year.
I know 9,
and they weren't bad.
They're not bad.
You go look at his numbers; it's pretty good. But I don't know. You gamble on the guy, but it's just a 1-year gamble. He wasn't mentioned yesterday at the Rangers press conference. Now, whether that's because there wasn't a direct question about Max, or whether it was because they've already made their decision mentally in their own mind. His name did not come up,
like at all.
But and then the Bregman thing is really big. He's been a cornerstone of that team, and was one of their high draft picks. There's actually a Rangers connection there. The year before, the Astros were unable to sign their first round pick, so they got a bonus pick and it came right before the Rangers picked. And the Rangers really liked Alex Bregman, but instead they ended up with Dylan Tate, who they traded the next year and is now a reliever for, I don't know, I think the Blue Jays or the Orioles. I don't remember.
Well, this is interesting with Alex Bregman because he and Altuve are the longest tenured position players with the Astros. And so Altuve, before this homestand, Altuve pleaded with the franchise to make re-signing Bregman a priority.
Yeah.
So, to have a teammate go to bat for you like that, quite literally, it's interesting. But what a good episode today.
It was good, yeah.
We do miss you, Rads, though, if you're watching, but probably not. You're enjoying a vacation.
That's right.
All right. Well, we will have a lot more coming to you tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the postseason all off-season long, and we're going to get into so much off-season Rangers coverage and winter meetings. So be sure to tune into the DLLS Rangers Podcast. Thanks for watching.
We all silly like the mayor.